Hi everyone, welcome to another session of the Global Pakistan Tech Summit. Today's session is on how tech startups can grow and scale by using AWS with my dear friend and someone who represents a very powerful organization in the startup ecosystem. AWS has helped a lot of startups around the world, but especially in Pakistan, they became super active and sponsored a bunch of things. And in Momentum, they were like the lead partner, and they have this program with Startup Grind, and they're actively trying to help Pakistani startups through their scout programs and free cloud credits and workshops like this. So let me introduce to you Kai Yong Kang. He's the startup business developer at AWS, supporting tech startups in the ASEAN region, so Southeast Asia and Pakistan, basically to help grow and scale startups through using AWS technology. He comes from a background with various roles at startups, from software development, content marketing, and business development. His current goal is to scout for the next generation of unicorns in this region, and we hope Pakistan produces a number of more unicorns. We know that Zameen just became the first homegrown Pakistani unicorn, but hopefully with support of organizations like the AWS, will scale even further. So with this, I'll hand it over to Kai.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction, Ajis. Really happy to be here today to talk to our audience and share more about the different things that we are doing for startups to help startups to grow and scale. And I couldn't agree more with you. I think that the potential in Pakistan is immense. There's so much that we can do to help the startups here with the talent that you guys have and the market size and population and the different opportunities that you guys can work on. Just before I go straight into the content, I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me okay. Can you hear me okay, Ajis?
Yeah, you are perfect.
All right, awesome. So just before I kickstart the sharing today, just want to let the audience know that this is probably going to be the least technical session that you ever heard from AWS. It's going to be pretty business focused, really talking about what are the different things we can do with startups beyond the IT infrastructure that we provide for startups. So without further ado, let's kickstart the session today. So basically, I will be talking about a brief introduction of what we do as a company and how startups actually derive benefits from AWS as a whole, and what are the different startup programs that you can leverage on to grow and scale your startups. So what is AWS? So AWS is Amazon's.com cloud computing business unit, and we have been innovating on behalf of business customers since 2006 by providing on-demand availability of computing resources. For example, computing power, database storage via the internet with a pay-as-you-go pricing model. So think of it like using electricity. You just pay for whatever that you've turned on, right? So it is really advantageous to startups from a cost standpoint and for the speed and efficacy of business that we enable. And how do we actually enable lean startups specifically with AWS Cloud? As you can see here, there is a flywheel effect. It starts from the zero upfront cost, right? First of all, because of the pay-as-you-go pricing of AWS, startups do not have to estimate how much computing resources to provision and pay upfront for computing infrastructure. Instead, startups can just pay for the resources that they use, much like the electricity concept that I mentioned. And because of the cost efficiency, it enables startups to launch fast. So, for example, the on-demand infrastructure from AWS allows startups to spin up computing resources in a matter of minutes with just a few clicks of your mouse, instead of weeks or months that it would take you to set up your hardware. And this really increases the agility of startups. And of course, for startups, speed is really the key here for differentiating your business. And because of the speed and agility that you gain, it also allows you to run multiple experiments with lower risk. So I think it's really important for startups to continue to disrupt and innovate by testing on multiple hypotheses, and the hypothesis might fail, right? The experiments might fail. And with cloud, it's great because you can always experiment at small scale. And if it doesn't work, you just need to deprovision the servers that you had launched in a matter of minutes, right? So, and as a result, because of the low cost and agility and the experiment that you can run at lower risk, it allows you to put your focus on the right area, which is to roll out new features, focus on improving customer experience, and not worry about the heavy lifting of maintaining hardware servers or provisioning. So as a whole, by using AWS, you allow us to help you oversee these tasks and provide IT infrastructures so that you can invest more of your limited time, resources, and efforts to actually grow your business. So you can see that in this diagram here, right? It can show you that because of cloud, because of this advantage, it actually has a huge impact on the startup ecosystem. As you can see, the cost of launching a startup in the past has significantly lowered down because of the introduction of cloud, and it really makes it cheaper for startups to launch their platform. So just to give you guys, so I'm not going to dive into the different solutions and services that we have, but I want to give you an overview of how broad and deep we have in different services and areas that you can leverage on. So typically, as you can see, most of the startups, they will probably start with the core services by looking at compute, storage, and database to launch a simple MVP. And as they progress, they probably start looking at more areas that they have to focus on. For example, if you're working in fintech, probably need to look more into security and compliance. And as you can see, we have a suite of different solutions for you to leverage on. And analytics, right? Once you start gaining more traction for customers, where do you store your data and how do you store it in a more efficient way so that you can create visualization to understand more about your customer base, to understand about how you can actually monetize this data even further. And as you build your data lakes and have a better understanding of your customers, how do you then venture into AI and machine learning by differentiating yourself from existing players in the market? So yeah, speaking of AI and machine learning, I just want to quickly showcase, this is the ML stack that we have. As you see, we are also providing the broadest and most complete set of machine learning capabilities to help startups to differentiate themselves. And as you can see, there are 3 layers here when we think about machine learning at a macro layer, at a macro level. So at the bottom, you have frameworks, interfaces, and infrastructure for expert machine learning practitioners. And in the middle layer, it may not be for ML practitioners, but for data scientists or developers that want to build, train, and tune their machine learning models. This is where the middle layer can be really helpful for. But at the top of the stack, this is the most amazing thing, right? You probably have joined my colleague's session, Faisal, last night, and he has talked about, he has actually dived deep into a lot of these different AI services that you can leverage on without the need of having your own machine learning specialist. So with your developers who can build, they can actually easily enable your platform to have all these amazing capabilities. For example, text to speech and speech to text, or image recognition and video recognition analysis. So it's really more than just lowering down the cost to build your platform on AWS. It also provides you an opportunity to differentiate your business model by enabling your platform with AI and machine learning capabilities without the need of machine learning specialists, so that you can grow fast and create more business value for your customers. So I hope this gives you an overview of what are the different solutions that we provide to startups and help you to innovate. I'm moving on. I just want to introduce our team to you. So I'm part of this global startup business development team. And as you can see, we are more than just, AWS is more than just a technology. We understand that in order for startups to succeed, it really needs more than just technology itself, right? It also needs the business side of things in terms of mentorship, in terms of go-to-market strategies, in terms of fundraising. So that is why we invested in having a team of founders who have exited their business, former VCs that invest in startups, mentors that spend a huge amount of time to help startups to be successful, to actually help startups that are part of AWS network, to help them to continue to grow beyond just their technical needs. So this is the list of partners. This is some of the partners that we work with globally, who are in venture capital accelerator programs and incubators. As you can see, some of the familiar names like Y Combinator, 500 Startups, Sequoia Capital. So these are our partners, and we work really closely to support their portfolio investments in the form of credits, in the form of technical support, which I will touch on in depth later. And this is a list of different startups that we work with globally and regionally. As you can see, there are some of these global brand names like Airbnb, Slack, Razer, as well as some of the regional heavyweights in Southeast Asia like Zalora, Grab, Shopback, and many more. And because of the experience of working with and growing with these incredible startups from the scratch, we are better to serve startups and really advise them every step along their cloud journey. So what exactly do we do as a startup business development team? As you can see here, we don't invest like venture funds or accelerator programs. We don't invest cash or take a capital position. But what we do is to open doors and remove obstacles for startups to further their growth. Right? Our team has a network across AWS teams and regional borders, and we're able to leverage that global footprint to connect startups to resources where they need and champion startups internally. Our team hires people who have direct experience with building startups so that we can act in your long-term interests. By doing so, it is really a long-term relationship that we are looking at to grow with startups. And the resources that we provide, include technical guidance, but also sales and marketing resources on Amazon's platforms for physical goods or software products, benefits from AWS startup programs, making introductions to investors or enterprises where there's potential partnership, and general business mentorship in some cases. So this is the part where it is really amazing, like how we develop different startup programs to support startups. As you can see, it's divided into 3 different phases of startups journey. I'm going to start with how startups can kickstart with AWS from scratch. For example, when you're in ideation stage or trying to build your MVP. So the startup journey with AWS often starts with our Activate program. Some of you may be familiar with this. We work with accelerators, incubators, seed funds, and other early stage investors to provide support at the earliest stages, mainly through the AWS Activate program. If you're a portfolio company of one of the participating organizations we work with, for example, in Pakistan, we work with almost all NICs in different states, and you can have access to AWS resources that will quickly help you get started, including the credits for your AWS usage, the business support plan, which gives you access to technical support 24/7 online, the self-paced lab credits for training on AWS, and free office hours with our technical expert, and a chance to be featured on one of AWS startup marketing channels. So if you have questions about Activate program and you probably attached to some of the VCs or accelerator programs in Pakistan or globally, speak to your investor or your community manager about what are the benefits that are available for you, and how can you redeem from them. Or you can also reach out to me after this as well. We also had another program, which is Startup Migrate. So sometimes startups, they started their journey not on AWS, but no risk, we are still here to assist you. Some of the startups that are considering moving your workloads to AWS, you may be able to receive support if you qualify for the AWS Startup Migrate program here. In certain cases, we may be able to help offset the cost of migration within a given time frame and provide technical support during executions, because we understand that if you haven't built on AWS before, you may need some time for learning the new services and solutions on AWS. Your team might be lean, and you need some support and guidance in exploring AWS. So we do have this program to help you to mitigate the risk and ease your transition into AWS. So these are the three programs that these are the two programs that we mainly focus on to support startups that are still early stage and help them to build a great product and find their product market fit. So as you grow with AWS, right, as you found your product market fit, you're gaining more tractions. This is where we also look at your architecture. We dive deep into your architecture, and we have this concept called the web architecture framework, where we will actually look at how your AWS workloads are secure, high performing, or resilient and efficient. Our AWS solution architect, which is the technical expert, they will actually walk you through this framework of 5 pillars for the review of your architecture. So these 5 pillars are operational excellence, security, reliability, performance efficiency, and of course, the most important one, cost optimization. And assess your workload according to each pillar to make sure that you have built a really scalable infrastructure to grow your platform. And of course, there's also a self-service guide online that is put up here if you prefer to walk through this on your own. And as you grow, of course, one of the key things for startup is to raise funds from investors to continue to grow fast. So capital is definitely a requirement. And AWS Capital Connect here is a program that connects high potential early stage startups with the AWS global network of seed and Series A investors, including accelerators and venture capital firms. This program connects startups with high quality and relevant funding sources so they can raise the capital they need to grow their business. And we help with connecting capital to startups by 2 ways. Firstly, via direct one-to-one introductions between high potential startups and specific relevant investors we deem there to be a good fit. Secondly, through our speed dating event, whether it's physical or virtual, this is where startups can get to meet a group of VCs that have been curated for a quick 15 minutes chat on a rotational basis. So the idea is that we really want to help startups that are high potential to have better access to our network of VCs, to have more visibility in and also exposure to the global network investors that we have. And if you'd like to gain access to this program, feel free to reach out to me after this and and share with me your pitch deck. We love speaking to startups about fundraising, and we would like to bounce ideas. And if you would like some help in reviewing your pitch deck, or you just want some advice on fundraising, feel free to reach out to me after this. I'm happy to have a chat with you on this. So these are the 2 programs that we focus on to help high potential startups that are growing with AWS. Moving on to the next part, which is scaling with AWS. This is where probably you're looking at expanding into different countries or different regions. You're experiencing really high exponential growth, and what are the different things that we can help you in terms of go to market. So one of the examples here is AWS connections. So we serve a wide range of different customers, from startups to large enterprises that need cloud technology. And the AWS Connections program facilitates relationships between the enterprises on AWS and startup customers to solve the need of the enterprise. And in turn, this can help to grow the startup business. And so what we do is we usually start by identifying an AWS enterprise customer's business and their technical needs, and then find solutions from AWS startup customers, or usually B2B or SaaS solutions, to fulfill their needs. And for startup customers, this is really a great way for your solutions to be discovered by enterprises around the world, because we work backward from the enterprise needs, and we'll reach out to startups that they have identified as fulfilling that need, so that it is really a win-win-win situation for all the parties involved. And moving on to this program, in order to help B2B software startups to grow and scale globally, we have also launched this program called APN Global Startup Program. It offers unique support to selected startups by assigning a dedicated startup partner development manager with deep AWS knowledge and startup business experience. The AWS Partner Network, or APN, refers to the vast community of companies that have partnered with AWS to provide professional services or software solutions to accelerate cloud adoption for other companies. The APN program consists of a tiered structure for partners to grow their AWS-based businesses, which would range in the number of benefits from proof of concept credits, technical training, sales and business development support, and co-marketing opportunities. Software startups can accelerate their sales cycle by joining the APN community. So speak with your AWS account manager or myself after this to learn more about this program and get introduced to a partner development manager who can help you if your product has reached a certain product market fit and is ready for enterprise. And this is another program that focuses on go-to-market strategies to help startups to grow their business. It's called AWS Marketplace. It is a digital catalog with thousands of software listings from independent software vendors that make it easy to find, test, buy, and deploy software that runs on AWS. AWS Marketplace provides a new sales channel for software startups to sell their solutions to AWS customers. So think about it. Software can be offered as a managed Amazon machine image, which allows streamlined delivery. And customers pay for AWS Marketplace software as part of the regular AWS billing cycle and can even choose one-click purchasing. So it really cuts down the sales cycle for you to sell your solutions to customers on AWS. And the customers can also choose to share their contact data with the vendors who are startups through the AWS Marketplace product support connection feature, which makes it easy for you to support your customers on AWS Marketplace. So coming to an end of the sharing of the program, I really want to share this quote from the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos. Invention comes in many forms and at scale. The most radical and transformative inventions are often those that empower others to unleash their creativity, to pursue their dreams. And I think this perfectly describes what our team is focused on. Right? So for AWS, we are pioneers. We hire builders. Most large technology companies have lost their will and DNA to invent. They acquire most of their innovation. And again, it is a strategy that can work, but it is not ours. We like to hire builders who look at customer experiences that are flawed and figure out how to reinvent those. In a space that is moving as fast as the cloud is, to be partnered with the company that has the most functionality, that's iterating the quickest, has the largest community, had the vision for cloud from the start without having to patch together acquisitions, that is very attractive. And after a decade of building and running the highly scalable application, Amazon.com, the company realized that we have to develop our own core competency in operating massive scale technology infrastructure and data centers and embark on a much broader mission of serving a new customer segment, developers and businesses with web services they can use to build sophisticated, scalable applications in 2006. So today, AWS is the fastest growing multi-billion enterprise IT vendor in the world. And in summary, I just want to use this as a last line to end my sharing. AWS, essentially, we are created by a startup for a startup like yourself. So thank you so much for joining the session today. And I hope this has given you a good overview of the different startup programs that you can leverage on in different stages. And really, it's really more than just IT and cloud technology. We are here to help. We are here. Please, do see us as an extended team to support your startups to grow. And we're really keen to see, how we can actually help more high potential startups to grow and eventually, producing more unicorns in Pakistan. And I've put up my contact details here as well. If you would like to get in touch, if you have ideas that you want to brainstorm, if you would like to understand more about how you can get started on AWS, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you. I'm open for any questions. Ajit, if there's any Q&A.
Yeah, we're going to take questions, I'll just display this banner here as well. Let me try. But I do have a bunch of questions, so maybe we can start with those if you like.
Sure.
Sure. So AWS, I think AWS Startup Program has become active in Pakistan over the past 2 years, probably. And you talked about a number of these programs. So if we look at a startup's journey, how do they get started with the AWS ecosystem? Is it the Activate program? But a question that we get a lot of the times with startups is that how can they get 100,000 cloud credits, right? So what's the journey from getting started to getting more credits?
Got it. Yeah. So I think you have put it. You have you're very right in that the first touching point for a startup with AWS probably Activate program. That's where they can really have they are given an opportunity to explore the different possibilities on AWS without worrying about the cost. And of course, the credits come in different tiers, and there's a reasoning for that because we work with different partners. And for example, as I mentioned, incubators, accelerator programs, and VCs. So the credit tiering with different partners come in different amounts. It's because of the different maturity of startups and the nature of the program itself. Because startups that are early stage, they probably wouldn't be able to utilize the credits and finish them in time because every credits tier come with an expiry date. So that's why we created the tier in a way that as the startup progress from an incubator to an accelerator program and eventually get funded by a VC, that's when they can actually maximize the benefits of this program, which is the $100,000, the maximum lifetime credits of this program.
Perfect. That is perfect. And in terms of the startups that have, so we have a lot of global examples who use AWS cloud, and a lot of startups who've really scaled because of this. Maybe if you can share some local examples, if that's allowed, and if there are some local startups.
Yeah, I think that I can name a few, probably in a way that the industry that they work in, because I think that it's kind of sensitive for me to talk about the names without gaining their approval. Of course, we have some of the high potential startups that are growing really fast in the field of ride sharing, logistics, fintech. So it's really a wide range of startups that we're supporting in Pakistan actually. And in fact, I can I can safely say that majority of the startups in Pakistan are using AWS,
Wow,
whether it's early
that
stage or
that
growth stage.
wow. No, that's really amazing. I think we have shared our AWS Activate code with a number of startups, and I think over the past year, I don't know, like 20, 30 of them have signed up, and some of them are doing really well. So I think this particular program has really helped startups, especially the ones which have very big needs to use cloud, especially all these like ride sharing or whatever. Whoever's building a platform, we understand that there's a lot of need for cloud computing for such solutions.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is the starting point, right? Where we create a safe zone for anyone with an idea, right? I think sometimes some people may mistake that AWS has a lot of different solutions. If I'm just building a simple MVP, is it the right platform for myself? And really, if I if we went back to where I started the presentation by talking about the different solutions that we have. Really, it can be as basic as just setting up a WordPress site to validate your idea, to building a machine learning platform. So on two very ends, on two extreme ends, like the really simple platform on one end, and with one really complicated ML core startup on the other end. There are many different possibilities that you can explore on AWS for these two ends.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's one more question, but this is more related to the developer industry that we were talking about as well. So since Pakistan has a very big developer community, are there any specific programs, looking at training people or training developers with AWS technical skills?
Yep, definitely. So for one, we are really huge on community approach as well. So we have our own AWS user group where people or developers who are really experienced with AWS, they actually curate a list of content and workshops on their own based on their experience to actually share with the community, and they're actually really active in the community by doing a lot of sharing, and we're also supporting them from time to time by having our own speakers from AWS to talk about updates on specific new solutions or talk about specific use case. Um, so for startups or any developers here that would like to tap into our community, please feel free to just search for AWS user group on Facebook, and just be part of the community, and that's where we actively talk about the updates as well. That's where we are connected to the community, and and understand where the needs are, and also gain feedback from the community. So that's one example on community approach. We also have our own training program as well. So if you go to if you just search for AWS training, you can actually see a digital platform where there are a lot of free courses for you to attend. And of course, with what's happening right now, I think this is the best time to go and learn virtually or digitally. And if you go to the platform, you can see that there are a lot of resources from getting started to looking at different things, and there are also, you can also explore. For example, there are different pathways on AWS. Now, if you're looking at becoming a solution architect, you want to really specialize in architecture. There are different there are different courses and things that you can do. But if you want to specialize in networking, you want to specialize in machine learning, there are also specific courses that you can look at on the platform itself, which is digitally and open for everyone to join. So that's on the digital end. And we're also constantly running different trainings virtually to enable startups or just individuals who want to learn more about AWS. And it can be some of them are actually really non-technical, so that it gives you some basics of what AWS can do. Some are quite technical, where it may involve some hands-on, where you need to play around with launching servers and testing something out, so that you gain the experience of how it works and how easy it really is. So of course, so the way that we look at it is really through a community approach, and we also have our own training programs to to help the community to learn more about AWS as well. Ajis, does that answer your question?
Yeah, sorry, I ran into some issue with my internet. I think I am back now.
No worries.
Yeah, thank you for the question on the developer ecosystem. Personally, we've been focusing a lot on promoting Pakistani tech talent and kind of, just sharing resources with them as well, because a lot of the time it's just the issue of awareness, right? We have this one question from Aftab. He's saying that recently I was trying to use Amazon SES, but limit increment process was a bit tedious and stressful. How can we make it less stressful to increase SES limits? This may be a little too technical, but if you want to answer, please.
Yeah, right. It is actually quite technical, and I don't think that I can address this now without really understanding the context of the use case. After, if if you'd like to learn more and get support, just feel free to ping me. As you can see on the slide, I have left my email address there, or I also key in the comment, so that you can reach out to me later. I'm happy to connect you with our technical expert, so that he can understand more about the issues that you're trying to solve.
Sure, I'll comment your contact details as well here. I hope you can hear me. There seems to be some issue again.
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so I think there's one more question. I'm getting a lot of questions in my DM. We're live at like 12 different pages. So this is more into, yeah, it's like this software only shows comments from one page, so it gets really confusing. We have our team scouting for all these questions at
Take your
different
time.
pages, right? Kind of like jugaad philosophy. So this is more related to like they are asking what other resources are available for startups other than cloud credits from AWS. So what are some other perks or offerings? I know that we talked about the investor program and a bunch of other things.
Yep.
Maybe they're looking for more clarity.
Sure. So maybe I can just reiterate a bit on what I talked about just now, and also add on to some of the things that may be missing here.
Sure.
So basically, if you look at the slide here, just give me 1 minute. If you look at the slide here, this is where we have a list of different programs to support startups at different stages. And basically, it's broken down into 3 stages. So for beginning with AWS, really just startups that are early stage ideation, we're trying to build MVP, and growing with AWS basically refers to a stage where startups have gained their product market fit, and as they gain their product market fit, it's time for them to grow and go to market and scale their business. So at the very early stage, the focus for us is to really help startups to build a great product, right? I think that a lot of times, startups, they try to hack their way, right? They try to build fast and not follow the right practices. And at some point, maybe when they are growing or when they are scaling, they might face a bottleneck in terms of cost optimization, for example. So the beginning with AWS stage is really, it's more than just cloud credits, but really a way for us to help startups understand what is the best way to build on AWS, right? For example, how do you make sure that you enable auto scaling, so that when you have traffic coming in, for example, let's say you're running an e-commerce platform, we have a spike in sales because of a specific festival. How do you then automatically handle that kind of uptick in traffic, right? Without
Yeah.
hiring developers there to monitor the traffic from time to time, right? Or how do you make sure that when you have a huge sales going on, your platform doesn't break down, and how do you prevent that from happening so that your customers do not complain to you, and how do you make sure that you prevent that from happening, so that the customer experience is not hurt. So really, when we look at how we are supporting startups, credits is to ease the cost, right? But there will be technical experts and technical support provided, the guidance and consultation to enable startups to learn and build things in the right way from scratch, so that you don't build up the technical debt, right? So as you build a product, and as you go to market and you started validating your traction, that's when we look at we dive deep into different areas of your architecture, right? And that's where we look at fundraising, right? Because once you have a product, you gain traction, then it's time to get more oil to fuel your growth, right? So because we work with a lot of different VCs and investors across the region and globally, it's really more than just Southeast Asia and Pakistan. We work very closely with our colleagues in US, work very closely with our colleagues in Europe, China. So by having an insight into how you have built your product, right? By having an insight of when we do well architected review, that's where we dive into your architecture and understand that, okay, so now everything check, right? Your platform is reliable, your platform is secure, and once we have got all this done, right, and you have tractions, it makes it very easy for us to pitch for you, to introduce you to the investors that we work with, right? And it also makes them feel more comfortable, because we help them to done their technical due diligence from that perspective, right? So that's really on, when you have hit product market fit. And as you scale, that's when you probably start looking at acquiring more customers, or going to a different market, maybe outside of Pakistan, right? So that's where we can come in and support you through our network of customers as well. So as you can see, all these programs here, like Connections, Global Startup Program, or Marketplace, all these are really channels and platforms that connect you as a startup to our existing customers because of the needs that we identified from them. So as you can see, it's an end-to-end process, right? When you are still a very early stage startup, the most important thing that we want to help you focus on is building a great product. As you grow, you find out about your product market fit. We want to help you to fundraise. And as you raise funds and you gain tractions and you want to scale even faster to go to market, right? That's where we bring in our network of customers and partners to help you so that you can have more exposure and access to our customers. And it is an end-to-end, and it is an ecosystem that we're trying to build here, so that you see a cycle, right? And as you grow, we will grow together. And this is how we really want to work together with startups in the long run.
Well, I think that's fantastic, and kind of the philosophy that AWS has behind supporting startups in such a comprehensive way. It is really helpful for not just our ecosystem. Obviously, I've witnessed AWS goes out of the way to support startups at Web Summit or Collision and all these different ecosystem around the world, right? And maybe this whole community of startups that have become part of this kind of ecosystem globally, they can also help each other, and you get exposure to them. And then obviously when you want to expand to Canada or the US or any other market, as part of this tribe, you get more benefits, right? So that this is just fantastic. I think we only have one last question, so I'll just present it to you, and it is more related to the AWS Scout program. So I remember we recently onboarded a bunch of Scout programs, and we shared the link. But maybe a lot more people can be inducted in that program. So this is more related to what's the Scout program and how can one become a Scout.
Great. This is a great question, and I'm happy that some people have learned about this program. And the idea of Scouts program is really about working together with the community, the influencers in the ecosystem that work closely with startups. And what we want to achieve is to really, as you mentioned, right, it's a Scouts program. So what we want to achieve is to scout for the next generation of high potential startups. So we understand that not every startup is attached to an incubator. Not every startup is raising funds. We understand that because of maybe these startups have been founded by serial entrepreneurs that are really experienced and well connected, or these startups just really want to focus on growing the business. And we completely understand that. But we also want to make sure that these startups do not miss out the perks and programs that we offer, because of the focus that we have on these partners that are more visible in the community. So that's why we started this program called Scouts, right? And it's really just CEOs, CTOs, or community builders, or investors and angels that work with early stage startups and identify the high potential bootstrap startups. And these Scouts will actually be able to give out $5,000 of credits to enable these startups to build on AWS without worrying about the cost. And and the idea is that they can leverage on these benefits to grow and gain traction. And at one point, when they are ready, they probably want to raise funds, and that's where we will funnel these startups that we identify through the Scouts program to our network investors. So if you are an influencer, or if you're a community builder or investors that work very closely with bootstrap or early stage startups in the Pakistani community or even Southeast Asia, please feel free to reach out, and happy to have a chat to understand your initiatives, to understand your community, and how we can work together through the Scouts program.
Absolutely. And if I can just add that, our accelerator Ijad Labs happens to be an AWS partner where we can give, I think, $10,000 to AWS, like startups. But since we work with a lot of growth stage startups ourselves, and a lot of like early stage entrepreneurs are probably not part of our tribe yet. But when they reach out, we want to give them something, right? And recently, I personally
Yep.
became an AWS scout, so it helps that all these startups who may not be part of our accelerator yet, we're able to help them with the AWS Scout program, and if they make good use of it, they can not only kind of get an upgrade but also qualify for our different programs and activities and maybe acceleration as well, right? So I can share
This,
the link. Yeah,
Ajis, I think you made a really good point. And of course, I'm really happy to have you as a scout. And have you really help work together with us to support these startups. And I think you made a really good point that for incubators or accelerator programs or VCs, you probably have spoken to hundreds of startups, but probably you can only support or invest in 5 to 10 startups in a year. But what about
yeah,
the top 20 potential startups that you probably want to keep track of, right? So Scouts program is also one way for you to support these startups while keeping them on the site and constantly tracking them. And through AWS program, we can also share some insights with you once they
yeah.
receive the credits. How are they growing on AWS? What kind of solutions are they adopting? And based on that, probably with the insights that you have, it's a good time for you to reinvest or relook at their application to your program.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if I can just give a shameless shout out to our own service, where we got obviously the AWS Scout program, but a bunch of other perks, and we bundle them together. And essentially, any early stage startups, because even when I was just starting up, one challenge I had that if I'm not part of any incubator accelerator, you don't get these perks and benefits, right? So we opened this, and if someone goes to our website and slash deals, they can just fill in their information, and if the startup looks good, which I think most of the startup do, they can avail a lot of things just for fee without even being part of our program formally. And then because we have their information, we keep an eye on them and see if they've made any progress, and then they can qualify for our different programs. So I think this has been fantastic, and obviously the resources that AWS is offering, these are really valuable for our ecosystem, right? And I think the timing is amazing, because in the past 2 to 3 years, a lot of investments have taken place in the Pakistani ecosystem. Zameen just became a unicorn. Two startups in the B2B commerce space just raised like 1.2 and 1.8 million dollars. The first Pakistani focused startup got into Y Combinator. So I think the ecosystem has really picked up pace, and over the next 5-10 years, hopefully with support of partners like AWS, partners like you, the whole ecosystem will grow, right? Because we have
Yep.
uh, ecosystems that are very close to Pakistan, like Singapore and Malaysia and Thailand, which are really flourishing in terms of investments and startups. And Pakistan is, I think, on path to kind of reach that point, right? And your learnings from all these different markets from Southeast Asia and around the world is really helping us as an ecosystem.
Yep. I think that it's very interesting that you mentioned that there's a lot of things that we can learn and share together, and I couldn't agree more. I think that it's an interesting perspective that I'm supporting startups across Southeast Asia and Pakistan at the same time, and I
Yeah.
do see some similarities in certain ecosystems, and with that insight, it really helps me to understand how we can further help Pakistani startups to go global, or and produce more unicorns in this community.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the programs that we run, I just want to share this information for the audience, to kind of connect entrepreneurs with different tech ecosystems by taking delegations, and we're hoping to make one to Singapore next year with some partners, and obviously we're going to invite you to become a partner and everything. but that would really help, right? Because at the same at one
Yeah.
time you are helping startups with cloud credits and all these different programs. But another thing that could possibly happen is matchmaking, right? So because you work with all these startups and all these community organizations from across these different cities and countries, maybe one value addition could be connecting startups and companies who can help each other or work together or collaborate. So this is really helpful.
Definitely, definitely. Let me know when you're making that happen. Happy to host you there.
So I think, can you hear me, Kai?
Yep, I can hear you. No, I was just saying that really great to hear that, and just let me know when you're ready to launch that, and happy to host you in Singapore. Can you hear me, Ajis?
I think we're having some connection issue. Okay, there might be some issue in my internet, but sorry for this. I was just going to say that, thank you for the wonderful session. Thank you for taking out the time. And then doing this series of, we have 4 workshops by AWS as part of this tech summit. One happened yesterday. I think there are 2 more or maybe 3 more. I'll have to check, but all of
Two
them are
more.
fantastic. And 2 more. And the yesterday one was hands-on as well. And I think the next ones are also hands-on. So people can really learn these skills as well. Other than these 4, I think there's another session by Mia Puram, who's an AWS solutions architect from Seattle, I think. So that's also part of the
Wow,
agenda. So there's a lot of good
awesome.
speakers from AWS in some other sessions as well. So with this, I'd just like to wrap this up. And first, thank you, Kai, for doing this. And thanks to the amazing audience for sticking around and for people who are watching this later.
Thank you so much for having me. And as I said, feel free to reach out to me after this. I'm happy to have a chat, with startups.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll share your contact details, your LinkedIn, etc., in the comments and with everyone. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks for having me. Thank you. Awesome job, Ajis.